Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to be surrounded by bassists right now, which is one of my favorite things. We have some bass royalty in the house, and I'm so excited to be celebrating this evening a number of things. We're celebrating life, we're celebrating music, we're celebrating humanity like we always do, but we're especially celebrating the release of Christian McBride's Your Sound is Your Signature. What is up, Christian?
Hey, baby, what's happening?
How you doing?
Great to see you, my man.
Man, it's like I see you in the screen all the time. You're larger than life. We spent so much time together over the years. To see you boxed into a screen is amazing. But you know, like we said last time, we'll take what we can get. It's a pleasure to see you always.
Oh, you too, Peter. I can't wait till we can get together and make some music again, man.
Absolutely.
It's been too long.
Absolutely. And we'd also like to welcome Mr. Bob DeBoo. What's up, Bob?
Hey, Peter. How's it going? So glad to be here.
It's good. Bob is our resident open studio bass guru, and one of the really fun things with this whole adventure has been connecting you guys, connecting you through the bass. You're already connected. You don't need me to connect you through the bass. The bass world is like, that's a deep connection there. But I'm excited to kind of dig into some stories about the new course and kind of how this came to be. But I'll just say, first of all, we just released this weekend, and the response we're getting already has been amazing. But this course has been our first and only course outside of some little piano things in studio that Adam and I have done. First course kind of in quarantine, and Christian, was gracious enough and adventurous enough to venture into a very socially distanced and sanitized studio that was conveniently located relatively close to his house a couple months ago for us to record this. So this is like super fresh and like it always is with Christian, but this is like a very, special thing. And I'm so excited that we decided to call it Your Sound is Your Signature, because that is a catchphrase that Christian has said over the years that I've always loved and taken to heart beyond just the bass world. But Christian, if you could talk just a little bit to kind of introduce things about your feelings about Your Sound is Your Signature and this course and kind of where you're at on your journey bass-wise, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, well, first of all, Peter, thank you for, as I've told you many times before, for creating this platform, Open Studio. A lot of people are learning from this. I actually went and checked out Sean Jones. I checked out his whole course. And getting my trumpet chops up.
There you go. There you go.
But it's a great platform. So thank you for that, my man.
Absolutely.
In terms of this new bass course, I never had I never thought of myself that highly as a teacher or as an instructor. And so the first course that we did, that was my first time actually really, kind of putting my mind to, like building something, over what was it, 12 courses or something like? No, it was like 20, right? Or whatever it was.
Yeah, 20 lessons and
20. And so after that was done, you really made me think about it. Like, oh man, this is I'm sure I'm going to do this again at some point, which here we are now. And so I had a little bit better bearings of what I wanted to do. But, thanks to your guidance, kind of prodding me and helping me along, this was a really fun one to do. As you said, adventurous was the key word, because I hadn't been in a recording studio in probably, 6 or 7 months before we recorded the new course. So, it's like, everybody's kind of paranoid, like, everybody's saying hi from like, 8-10 feet away,
Right.
But, you were there, had the cats on the laptop, and heard you over the mic. But, I really enjoyed this course a lot, man. We kind of we did some things from the first course, but we got deeper into it, like right hand technique, left-hand technique, the electric bass, which was really fun, and particularly the part of playing with the drummer.
Mm-hmm.
It's real. I think this course, I like to think of it as being very practical and very useful, because if you're going to be a bass player out there actually gigging with people, there's some real basic things you need to really keep in mind. And I like to think that I addressed a lot of that in this course.
Oh, absolutely, you did. And as speaking of drums, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Mr. Carl Allen. What's up, Carl?
Hey, now how you guys doing?
Milwaukee's favorite son.
That's right. That's right. And so Christian just mentioned, the idea we were throwing around different ideas as far as like how do we extend upon fundamentals of jazz bass. And I remember, Christian, you said, man, I kind of said everything. I was like, dude, you just scratched the surface, and that's what and then we started going through like all the questions and comments that folks had and additional things. And I shared some of those from the first course. Yeah. And it got really exciting because you really latched onto this idea, Christian, of like, the bass and the drums. And we talked about, and I think you had forgotten about this, but it was like deep in my mind. I remember we did years ago a workshop I think it was at Indiana University, and
that's right. I remember that.
And
I remember my bass broke or something while we were there. Like my end pin, like the screw dulled out on me.
Right, exactly. And I remember you went into a deep dive with the students there about the rhythm section. And I think I had kind of worked with some of the pianists or something, and you were like, see, the rhythm section, you need to do this, and you need to, and I was like, as you were talking, I'm looking at the pianist like, yeah, come on now. And then you sort of mentioned, because the rhythm section, the bass and the drums is like the most important, sacred. And I was like, oh yeah, he just forgot the piano. And then the second time you were like, but see, the bass and the drums for the rhythm section. I was like, Christian doesn't usually forget things twice, but it was such an eye-opener to me, and it's such an important thing that is the rhythm section, and that's the foundation. And as pianists, as guitarists, of course, we jump into that role, but that connection, is so important. So as we were talking about this course, and you were like, man, I would love to demonstrate some things and talk about concepts with a drummer. And we both kind of, I remember over Zoom or the phone, whatever it was, sort of looked at each other and both said, Carl, at the same time. And it was like, all right, let's see if he's available. So that's how Carl became a part of this. And I'm so glad he was, because what you guys did was just amazing on here.
Well, the other thing is when you played with, Carl and I have played together so often through the years, I knew it wouldn't be work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I selfishly say also that I think the bass and the drums is the most important relationship in the band. Not the other relationships aren't important, but
right.
As McBride says, if that's not happening, everybody can go home.
That's right. Well, that's the thing. The other relationships are important, but they lose their significance because the bond isn't there. And I think even though like maybe the piano in the traditional setting is the next one to kind of enter that rhythm section relationship, and then it extends to the vocalist, the horn players, whatever. But if that bass and drums isn't there, and you guys did such a great job in this course, not only demonstrating that, but talking about different approaches and concepts about that, and stories about it, playing with Freddie Hubbard, playing in different situations, recording, playing live, and it's super fun. And, as we were producing the course and I'm watching via Zoom all this with a big smile on my face, I was like, man, I've heard these stories, but they're still really good. I was like, I think people are going to like this because like if you've heard them and they still sound fresh and I'm still learning from hearing them, you've hit on something for sure.
Well, man, I can't wait to see the finished product.
Yeah. Well, it's available now. It's funny you would say that, but I got you covered, Christian. I got you login for you.
My man.
So I want to get into a bunch of things. I want to give folks a chance to ask questions, of course, but I want to just pull in Bob DeBoo here and just let everybody know kind of how this came about. Bob is an incredible bassist in his own right here in St. Louis. Hails from Texas originally. Don't hold that against him. Big shout out to Texas. What's up? Fort Worth in the house. Bob's played from, everybody from David Sanborn most recently to Brian Owens and, numerous folks, everybody around St. Louis and beyond. But Bob's a great educator as well. And, when Adam and I first talked with Bob, I said, we're doing a course with Christian, and Christian's a little bit like, man, I laid out my stuff and I want to do it, but I'm not sure, how we're going to go with this. The idea was that Bob would come in and interpret exactly. And Bob was already like, I'm #1 Christian McBride fan. I was like, hold on a second. I kind of consider myself, I'm not a bassist, but I'm a big fan, And so what we attempted to do, and what we were able to do because of Bob's just, breadth of his knowledge of Christian styles and watching all the lessons and doing a lot of the transcription as well, is to come up with guided practice sessions where it took the concepts that Christian talked about, both in the first course, but primarily in the new course, and Your Sound is Your Signature, and create actionable, fun, and, immersive practice sessions for bassists to do at all different levels. So it becomes not just like Christians playing and showing you this is how we do it. It's like, now how do we take that and practice that, say, over the next 3 to 4 days, this specific concept, and then how do we go on the next concept? And I think what he did was just amazing. I think, Christian, once you see it and check it out, you're going to really enjoy it. And for bass players, it'll really be that bridge between this is the promised land of where we're going, and this is how we're going to get there. So, Bob, I was just thinking, maybe just did I nail that, or am I off base with that?
No, of course. Yeah,
okay.
No, and it was an extreme pleasure to be asked to be involved. So thank you again, Peter, and thank you so much, Christian and Carl, for the course. Everything in there is just like solid gold. Especially the conversations y'all have at the end about how to get a gig and keep a gig, and just seeing y'all interact in the studio was just like, I had a smile on my face the whole time. Of course, playing, of course, hearing y'all play together, that was something else entirely. So thank you for that, because that's been a gift just to watch and get to rewatch and get to think about, so it was like just getting this beautiful glimpse into Christian, you're playing, and then y'all working together. So that was just amazing. But for the guided practice sessions, it's nothing of mine. I'm really just trying to, as you said, Christian, interpret what it was you were explaining in the course, talking specifically about right hand. How can we build up from somebody that wants to progress, doing very simple, basic, simplistic right hand technique things, and then focusing on the left hand, putting them together, just like you talk about in the course, learning a tune. We go over learning tenderly, using numerical progressions, learning the melody, working with the bow, putting it in a few different keys, and then some of the more the hip things you do with like minor pentatonics, like using that minor pentatonic off the major seventh, and just some other really things that I found really interesting. It's like, I want to work on this. How can we bring in some other people too? So
yeah, Peter, you had me going into my whole bag of secrets on there, man. I had never intended on ever revealing any of that stuff.
It's out there now.
It's out there.
Just let them figure it out on their own.
That's right. Well, I think that's been the biggest challenge for for us. And Bob, you see, you're a little younger than us, and Christian, it's so funny because Carl and I have talked about this before. Christian, you're a little younger than us too,
right?
But because you're like so good and so mature, you always like. I got to tell a quick story. I've told it before, but Christian is a young dude. But when we met, Christian had such a not only knowledge about music and life, but he had like this deep voice. He was kind of a big guy. Actually, he wasn't even that big. He was kind of a scrawny guy now that I think about it, but compared to now, but he just had this aura about him. So he was like, yeah, I think he even kind of like grabbed me and like put his arm around me. And I was kind of like, Daddy, I was like, wait, this dude's younger than me. But Christian's always kind of had that sort of thing. But I think for all of us sort of in this generation, that's been a thing. It's like, wait, do we share the secrets? Because, a lot of them, our elders that came along, like I know I used to ask the great players around St. Willie Aikens and Freddie Washington. I was like, wait, what did you play on that thing? And they're like, listen, they were that's like, right. You got to learn it on your own. And now we're in an era where like everything we play, everyone's going to see it anyway. And with all you guys, I've been, I've probably been pushing harder than anyone. Like, let's just go ahead and show it. Let's reveal the things. And I think, Christian, you really opened up on this course in a way. I don't know if it was the pandemic or you getting a little older or what it was, but you were like, all right, well, let me just go ahead and lay it all out there.
It was you saying we need more.
Right. Carl helped me too. Carl helped me out a little bit too there. See?
No, but you know what? And I know this is probably a sidebar, but I think it's important for people to know. You know, McBride, of course, would never say this, but you know, McBride is a perfect example of one's personality kind of aligning itself with the way that one plays. And what I mean by that, McBride has this uncanny ability to walk into a room and just make everybody feel comfortable, right? Yeah. I sometimes forget, as long as we've known each other, sometimes when I see him and we haven't seen each other in a while, you know, my first instinct is to, you know, you go and you shake hands. And he ain't shaking hands; he's giving hugs.
Right. Well, he was.
Yeah. Right. So that's over now, right?
Ain't nobody getting nothing now.
But it's the same way when it comes to music,
right?
You know, of that uncanny ability to just make people comfortable. I mean, I've been in many situations with him where it's just like, you know, people nervous, people scared, and it's like, no, it's gonna be cool, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
and that's a special gift. I don't know if you can put that in the chorus, but that's a special gift.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I think you guys actually, you know, got a nice hint on that, on what that was. And I think, Carl, you and Christian playing together, and that's why I was so excited that we were able to capture that, really kind of completes that exact thing, because Carl, you're exactly the same way. And Christian and I have talked about this before. You have that exact same ability. So I think the two of you, for as many of the, you know, musical and technical reasons that you can play together really well, and just a very high level of understanding of those specific rhythm section things that are so amazing. The next level above that you guys share is that ability to give a big hug to everybody around you. And I know for me, having the pleasure to play with you guys in a rhythm section, it's such a beautiful thing, because it's at the same time, you guys are so welcoming with that big musical hug, but you're playing at such a high technical and musical level that it's like a welcoming hug, and also like, all right, come on up with what we're doing. Right. So it inspires and brings out the best in me. And I know everybody that plays with you guys, and that's why you guys, you know, get the kind of calls that you do. It's like, let's bring these guys in, not just to have their names, which is great too, but like to elevate everybody's playing, you know. And to me, that's like the ultimate level of rhythm section playing.
Well, thank you for that, Peter. Well, you know, you right in there with us, man. You know, this specific rhythm section has been playing together now for over 10 years, you know, and of course we all go back much further than that. So right. Anybody who gets to play with this rhythm section, if I must say so, you're fortunate.
I agree. And I consider myself fortunate. I also understand what you're saying too. And I think, I mean,
who haven't you played with, Pedro?
Oh, I got some people. Stevie Wonder. That's my big. Well, you have. So.
Yeah, but it was different. That was like an all-star jam.
I'll take it. I'll jam. Shoot, I'll play in like jam. Exactly. Yeah. So and so I think some of the really cool stuff I remember from us recording the course, from you guys recording the course, and just being a fly on the wall, also was some of my favorite stuff is just the human stuff. I mean, you guys go deep on, like, you know, connecting between the bass and drums, and I love that stuff. And it's like it's so informative even for piano players, because like if you understand as a pianist how a bass player and a drummer hook up, like then you have an opportunity to be able to enter that situation and have some success. But I love the stuff when you guys are just talking about the humanity of playing together and the different situations. To me, that's like that's the golden moments, and I hope everybody, I know they will, they're gonna love that too, you know. And I'm glad we were able to capture that.
I think I specifically remember asking Carl at some point, either give an example or like talk about what happens. Like, what does it mean when you don't hook up with the bass player, because I find oftentimes, like, I get it. You're a young player, you're just getting into the music, you want to know how it's done, but sometimes you make something out of nothing. You want to make something harder than it actually is, and hooking up with the drummer, it's like, I remember Ray Brown said something once. I mean, it might have been a little oversimplistic, but he said, somebody asked him what was it like playing with all these different drummers. He's like, look, it's only two things you got to know. You either got to follow them or they got to follow you. One of the two. I was like, well, yeah, but but like I remember asking Carl, like, I can't imagine him not hooking up with a bass player. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what that feels like. What does it mean to not hook up with a bass? Like, it's like, what if the drummer's a little bit ahead or a little bit behind, or if the bass player's a little bit ahead or a little bit behind? I'm like, oh, just adjust.
Listen.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
He says it. Carl says it perfectly too. He says that it's not so much about here's my time; it's about making it feel right and serving the music. And it's that will forever be in my head when I'm playing. So, yeah. And another Ray Brown simplification that came to mind, or oversimplification, was him talking about playing with the bow. Somebody relayed a story to me about, well, do you play French or German bow? You already know the story, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's nothing but a stick with hair on it. Just make it work. Make it work.
Yeah.
Or I'm saying it.
The question was, Ray Brown was holding a German bow with a French grip.
Oh, okay.
Right.
And someone was asking him why he did that. He's like, look, ain't nothing but a stick with some hair on it.
He's gonna make it work.
Oh, that's so great.
Oh man.
You know who got a lot out of that one was Russell.
Oh, Russell Malone. Oh, you know that. You know that.
He used that one all kinds of ways.
Probably except for the way that Ray said it.
Probably not one way we could actually discuss tonight.
Private chat.
Oh man. Yeah. What's funny, Christian, you're saying about Carl and it not impossible for it not to feel good, because I remember we had a fun thing in doing this course where I kind of, I was throwing out different ideas. You had ideas for different, specific things you wanted to do. And then you were like, let me know what you think. And I had different ideas, and Adam came up with some. And one of mine was, I said, man, I don't know what that dude is, man. Adam who? Man, we definitely don't need another piano player on here. But I said, why don't you do a lesson, or even just like kind of go into, how basically what not to do as a bass player, like how to lose a gig, I think is the way how to not get a gig. And you were like, this is very rare. And Carl, I know you can back me up on this. Christian, like you could ask Christian, like, what is, like you could come up to Christian at 7:00 in the morning after he gives you a big hug, of course, immediately, and be like, man, Christian, what do you think about like Macedonian white wine? And Christian will be like, well,
I don't know.
The thing about it is, no, he'll have something to say about, like he's not going to be at a loss for it. But after I asked him, I said, why don't you talk about like how to lose a gig, or how to, what not to do so that you don't lose a gig. Christian you were like, man, I don't know. That's never happened to me. I was like, I got him. Finally, I got him. I stumped him.
Oh, man.
But you were able to dig deep and come up with some good stuff with that, too.
And I think more of that was, as you said, Bob, that's more of the human area of things, because I if something's not happening musically, I tend to think that could be, I mean, if it's a real problem to fix something musically, then they probably weren't ready for the gig in the first place. Right. But most musical things, I think, can be fixed. And if it can't, obviously you have a bigger problem. That's like a human personality ego issue,
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. But that connection, the human aspect of it too. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely one of the things that struck me in the course too was, of course, y'all are telling stories and going back through like playing with Benny Green and being on the road with Freddie Hubbard and talking about like after the gig, going back to the hotel rooms and checking out each other's CDs or listening to music together and how all that goes into the music too. And, you know, that of course makes so much sense, but to hear it, you know, and that's stuff that I've of course done with other people, but you know, to hear y'all put it that way and say that all of that goes into the music too, that was really cool to hear. It's really deep for me.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to throw something at you guys because a couple of weeks ago, I experienced something I was not prepared for. So I done an interview, and the cat was asking me, tell me about something that happened early in your career, like, you know, like a growing pain story, you know, like tell me something that happens to young musicians, like, you know, where you've been embarrassed. Or I was like, you know, oh man, that happened all the time, you know. And so I told a story about playing at Bradley's one night, and Big George came in there. Ooh. And you know, George Coleman came in there. You know, he did what he usually did. You know, he's gunslinger, shows up at 3 a.m. and want to sit in, calling like some really obscure songs in obscure keys. Right. You know, and so I tell the story about how he did that. But on this one night, it actually wasn't a song. He just threw some chord. He just called out some chord changes, right? But he didn't call him out until after he figured out me and Larry Willis couldn't figure out what he was playing.
Of course.
And so I did not tell this story to make bad out of George. I was telling this story from my standpoint, like, man, you know, it's like, you know, I couldn't hear what he was playing. And it was really embarrassing for me, you know. Man, the comments that came in after that, and this is when I realized we were in the new era, people were just railing on George. You know, what a despicable man. How could he embarrass you like that? You know, that's just so egotistical. That kind of behavior has no place in you know, in life. And I'm reading these comments like, yo, you guys have taken this way, 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 way too far. And I started thinking, like, when all of us were in elementary school, middle school, or high school, we all had that one teacher or even a parent that would embarrass the hell out of you if you didn't do what they asked you to do.
Right.
Did it feel good? No. But I don't feel like I now need to go back and, you know, cancel that person and say, you are a despicable, horrible person. You know, I learned from the situation. I think every last one of us, and I mean, Carl, you know better than I do because you played with Big George. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where do you guys? I mean, how do you sort of how do you balance tough love in 2020 with gentleness? You know, how do you tell someone they're not ready?
So basically, how do we help this next generation of overly coddled, overly primped kids be able to receive
tough already?
Get the same information that we were able to get from our elders, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's something we've talked about a lot. I think that's a challenge. I think that there's still. I mean, to me, what's cool in the jazz world, there still seems to be that unbroken chain, at least for now, of passing along the information through tough love, through playing together, through, come on now, let's do this. And, right. You know, last week I did a duo back and forth kind of East Coast, Midwest thing with Christian Sands. And we had a lot of fun. But, of course, your name came up, Christian. And we did a little talking. We were just playing a tune, and then we actually played something, traded some choruses, and I realized, like, you know, Christian, because he played, you know, you guys had that great trio together for, you know, quite a few years. I'm thinking now, and that was such a pivotal thing for him. But I think that, like, you were able to, because he kind of mentioned, he's like, yeah, I mean, you know, with Christian, you got to just kind of keep up. He's not going to like wait for you, you know, like you're in there. And I was thinking like Christian, I was like, no, man, Chris, that's like the nicest cat ever. And he wasn't like, he just had a different view of you than, you know, like Carl and I and Bob do probably, as in terms of like, we came up together and, you know, you challenge us musically, but it's with that big hug. But like Christian really looks up to you in a way. And, you know, Christian Sands, he has no trouble keeping up with us. It's not about that. But I think that you and Carl especially, and a number of other musicians in our generations, but you guys in particular, you've really done a great service to this next generation of adjusting. Because I mean, we can't do it like George Coleman and Betty Carter and Cecil Taylor. I mean, like if we were to do this, we would all get canceled. Like we, you know, it's a different time we're in now. But I think Christian, you've done a great job of, you know, both through your numerous bands and employing younger musicians, but also like through Jazz Aspen and through these different institutional situations. And from you being this really great teacher of giving them that knowledge, but a little bit of that tough love. And also just more than tough love, it's almost like, look, this is where the level is. This is the level of expectation. Let's go. And you've always had that ability. And, you know, Carl and I, every time we play with you, and Carl does the same thing. I look at you guys and like, let's have fun. And you're looking like, let's have fun and let's do this. Like it's fun and it's at a certain level. And I think for the young folks, even the really talented ones, they just need to see that and get affirmation on that. And I think that, you know, on your first course, you definitely brought that. And, you know, you kind of pulled me in and we did some things. But on this one, you kind of went next level with that in terms of having Carl, because you guys came up with that together. And so you were able to do all that like super relaxed, like, oh, come on, let's just have fun. But then it's like bam, 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 bam. And like, and the level just goes to 11 immediately. And that's the thing that I think that if we can maintain that, yeah, we can't do it the way they did in the last generation just because of how it is now, but we can still maintain that level and that expectation.
Right. I mean, and Carl, you know, you have so much experience, not just on the bandstand, but in the classroom as well. So, I mean, has that been somewhat of an adjustment for you, trying to be like, hey, look, I told you, you know, you're not quite, you know, you sound great, but I mean, you know.
Oh, it's definitely adjustment, because I mean, you know, I came up with tough love, and I don't really believe in coddling folks, and it's just I still feel that is very much necessary, because and I'm not saying you got to browbeat people or beat them up or embarrass them or what have you, but I do think it's important to be honest, just to say, you know, listen, you know, you just check out these records. You got to work on your time, work on your intonation, to check these whatever, but to immediately try to be, you know, best buddy and to negate that, I think would be doing the music and the student a disservice. But it's a balancing act for sure, because I think we're at a time where a lot of people have shorter attention spans. So, you know, I see young students all the time. If you don't praise them right away, they kind of tune out. You know, and it's like, yeah, it's a different time for sure.
Oh yeah, much different.
Oh, whoa.
Wait a minute.
What's up, baby?
So my question is, when did you get out?
Just yesterday. You know, Pete hit me up when I got out. Well, I could add to that story that I was under this man right there, Carl Allen, tutelage for some years. So I could tell you a story, but I'm gonna tell you a quick story, because I've told this story about 200 times since then. I was on Carl's bandstand, and he does something I would learn later that he got from, I think, Boo. I think you say to me, no, you say to the audience, hey, so we have a special what's that? A special treat for you tonight, everyone. You know, we're gonna feature our splendid bass player on bassist on the tune of his choice, solo, and everybody left the stage. I don't know if you remember that, but I've used it a few times. But that was the first time that it ever happened to me, right? And I was like, no, you know. And I bullshitted my way through like Body and Soul or something like that. But talk about that tough love. Y'all talking about that tough love, boy. I appreciate that very much for them that time, brother Carl.
Yeah, you rose to the occasion though, so you were cool. and you're still here.
Hey, fresh out of jail. And I got a story for you too, Christian. Now.
Wait, hold up, Ruben. I gotta introduce you first.
No. Everyone knows me.
No. Christian, this is Ruben Rogers. Carl, this is Ruben. Bob, this is Ruben. I gotta introduce you guys.
No. Jumping right in.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ruben Rogers. Right there.
Fellas.
Ruben Rogers.
There he is.
Congratulations on the new course.
This is the bass. This is the open studio bass trifecta right there. See?
Yeah, something like that. Now,
Peter, you said about Adam, we don't need another piano player. You ain't say nothing about not needing another bass player.
No, we do. This is bass night.
Can't get enough.
I know Kristen likes to bring in all the reinforcements. You know, it's like John Clayton might show. You don't know who's going to show up next.
Exactly. That's right.
But no, the I only watched a few minutes of the new present that you gave to everyone. But man, it's so on point. Both of y'all, Bob and Christian, y'all did a great job. But I'm gonna tell you, you've been doing this for forever, Christian. Did I ever tell you that when coming from St. Thomas, I told you about when I came from St. Thomas, when I first came from St. Thomas to Boston, and how okay. Remember T.L. Joseph Avery? You know Carl. Remember T.L. Joseph Avery, right? T.L. Joseph Avery went to Berkeley with me. I'm right behind the ears. I'm standing outside of Berkeley College of Music, chilling. You know, just watching truck cars go by. You know, like wow, I'm so happy to be here.
You hadn't seen that before, huh? Sorry. You set it up. You said you were like, I see cars go by. You were impressed.
Okay.
With motors.
I'm gonna make this short. God damn it. So T.O. just comes to me. He says, somehow we had met each other maybe a couple days before. He's like, "You're a bass player, right?" I was like, yeah. He's like, "You wanna go to a show tonight? We got a bar. You should come." I like, okay, yeah, I'll go. I was like, he's like, "Meet me here at like 5-6 o'clock." I'm like, "Oh, okay, T.O. Jones. Okay, great." We get on the bus. We go straight down Mass Ave. We get to Uganda Bar. We get there. It's you, Josh Redmond, and Jeff Keezer. Trio. Just trio.
Oh, wow.
Right? Right.
Yo, turn them generators off.
But here's the whole thing. Y'all were my first live jazz concert I saw besides seeing Lionel Hampton in St. Thomas one time.
Wow.
Yo, my first so I was just like, okay. And you know, and the sax, you know, and Josh was like, Keith was like, and you're like, ooh. And I'm like, oh my God. Man. I'm like, does everybody play like this shit? You know what I mean? And the thing is, I didn't even own an upright bass yet. I was just what you call it? I was playing electric bass. I didn't even own an upright bass yet. So I was like, God damn, is everybody playing it? Oh my God.
Hey, I got a funny story for you and Peter. So that same trio, we did a double bill with Betty somewhere in Pennsylvania. Might have been Scranton, PA, something like that. And Betty, that's when Peter, I think you must have just left because Cyrus was playing, and Cyrus and Chris Thomas and Clarence Penn.
Yeah.
And Betty was in the wings while we were playing, vibing the whole time. She's just standing there backstage.
Oh yeah.
And so, you know, Marianne Topper, rest in peace, she always used to make us wear tuxedos when we played with that band. And so we come off stage and Betty was like, who made y'all wear those dumb tuxedos? Who y'all think y'all are? The MJQ? You know. She didn't say nothing about the music.
Right.
And so I was like, I'm glad you enjoyed the set, Betty. She was like, y'all get ready to hear a real trio.
That was Betty. That was Betty right there.
But anyway, that was great, man. That's good. That's good. But no,
I didn't know about that trio. You, Keezer, and Josh. No drums?
Yeah, we only did like, I would say, it was like 92 or something like that, Ruben?
Yeah, it was 92.
Yeah, 92.
Fall of 92. Mm-hmm.
That's right. Yeah, we only played like a handful of gigs together. And Keezer did a record on Sony like in the mid 90s, and he used that trio for like 2 tracks.
Oh, okay.
Okay. See,
nice.
There you go. Anyway, that's a good one. I've been telling that story forever, but I don't think I ever told you. So I was like, you know what? I gotta tell both of these stories today. All right, So there you go.
I'll tell you, Ruben, I'm not saying this because you on this, but I tell
Yes,
Ron, no, you a bad man, dude.
Well, thank you. Well,
I love everything you play.
Oh, well, that's a high compliment. Thank you, brother. Much love and respect to all of you. Favorite musicians, for sure. Anyway, continue now.
This is a solid group. This is some solid rhythm section work. I know I'm a piano player, but I'm gonna throw myself in there. I'm looking at the screen now. I'm like, okay, this is some good rhythm section work right here.
And the thing I love about the chorus too, what I've seen is just it's so great to see the vision, like pretty much from Bob to you, Christian. Like we all come from this same thing, even though we've never talked to each other about it, or but we share the same language, the same love of the really basic things that can transcend to all other instruments, but really just that bass love. I mean, that bass unity, that bass way of we all go out different ways about explaining it, but I mean it's unbelievable to be like, damn, I think that same thing. What? He's saying the same. Oh my God! Wow, that's so great. I love it. I'm gonna tell you something else about Ruben that's very special. Our direct connection is that I sold you my bass. That's right. The bass I moved to New York with. You don't still have that, do you? No. That's what's so funny is that actually on your session, Carl, you played that session on Carl's session, right? And which one? Testimonial. Testimonial, yeah. Right. Did I still have that bass then? Well, this is so funny about it is I played it. I think I played it on one tune, and I was like, man, I love this bass. Oh man, I love this bass. And then you got rid of it. It was at Gage's shop, maybe years later. Right. And I went in. I'm looking for a bass, and I pick up the bass. I'm like, this is Christian bass. This is that same bass. I know it's. And they couldn't. They said they couldn't. They weren't supposed to tell anybody anything, right? They weren't supposed to tell that. But I was like, this is Christian bass, huh? And Dave was like, I ain't supposed to tell you, but yeah. I was like, I knew it. And you know what you told me though? I asked you why you got rid of the bass. And I think you gave me some slick answer, like I can't remember what you said, but basically, like you'll find if you get it, you'll find out why I got rid of it. You kind of said something like that, right? And I still bought it. I still bought it. Had it for a couple of years, and then it was the same thing. It was like, you know what? This bass ain't giving me what I need actually. Let me. The E string was weak on that bass. I mean, I specifically remember the E string being. No matter how much I raised it, I still couldn't get like no air. Okay. I don't remember exactly, but I remember being like, you know what? I think it's time to get rid of it. I think I took it back to David like 2 years later. Right. Kind of funny, But here we are. Bob, what you got there, man? What's that axe behind you? Yeah, tell us, please.
This one, I actually found this bass on Craigslist here in St. Louis. You won't. I'm not even kidding. I found it on Craigslist. This guy had it next to his Steinway grand piano. They were both covered in dust, cracks up and down the front and back of the bass. It had no strings on it, no bridge on it, and he was selling it for way too cheap. And I looked at it and I was like, how much do you want for that? I'll take it.
Right.
And then found the great bass guy in Cincinnati who restored it for me. And it's a German, it's a German flatback. No info about it, but I've had it for about 10 years now.
How many instruments do you have? You have more than one?
Uprights, just the one upright. And I've got my electrics behind me there.
So how did you go up? I mean, did you have one before that and then decided to just go that route, or?
Yeah, but it was a bass that I'd had for a long time, like a student model type of thing.
All
so
right.
I came across this one and I was like, that's.
How many electric basses you got? Tell the truth.
How many do I really have? Is my wife watching? No, I've got the two. I've got a Lakeland, and then I've got this Fender P bass.
See.
And that's it. I may have some keyboards and some drum machines, but no
There you go.
basses. So.
Well, how many you got, Christian? No, sorry. Carl, Peter, y'all can excuse.
Hey, Carl, how you been, bro? Man, what's been going on, man?
What kind of strings do you put on your bass?
That's right.
Well, I mean, how many? You got about 20 electric basses, probably, right, Christian? What?
No,
you got?
no. What do you say you got? You got 2 or 3 back there, Bob?
Two.
The two. Yeah, a Lakeland.
Yeah,
No, P bass.
yeah, so I got 3 times that.
Oh, see, he didn't say how many he has. He used a multiple.
Yeah, right.
Exponential.
He's gonna make us do the math. So we gotta
Do your own work.
But
See,
really,
that's part of the course. That's part of the course. You got.
but you only probably play 2 of them.
3.
There you go. I don't know. See,
I got one axe here. Like I only use for the Squire.
Right.
The obligatory Squire, the $200 bass.
hopeful. Yeah, Old Faithful.
So I got a question for all you guys, bassists, for Carl, and I'm wondering if this is different for piano during this pause period of the last 5-6 months, whatever we're in now. Has your and maybe we'll start with you, Christian. Just like, has your relationship with, because I know you're not able to travel with your instrument you want to all the time, for some time now, but like, has your relationship with your instruments changed just being at home in your basement for more time than ever? Has things changed in terms of your practice routine or just your relationship with those instruments?
I figured out if I'm really going to get better, I should probably focus on one axe. Now the problem is, I got 2 other axes upstairs, which are just like sitting there waiting, like, hey, what's up? And I really do think of instruments as people. If you don't put in, you ain't gonna get nothing out. They're gonna fade away. So I have my lemur bass that I keep down here in the man cave, and but that's not the best bass. Like my real bass is upstairs. But I don't know. I get paranoid about bringing my real good axes down here to the man cave. So I wound up practicing on my lemur most of the time, and I've been getting back to shedding a lot of classical, man. I've been having my bow out, going through my orchestral excerpts and things like that. But what I really need to do is take that upstairs to where the axe I'm actually going to play on the gig, I should go upstairs and deal with it. But it's just, I got everything down here. I got my keyboard over there, my electric bass is here, the lemur over here, all my records. It's like, I'm just going to shed on the lemur.
Right.
Now, was that, Christian? I figured you were pretty serious when you told me this. I remember right at the beginning of the pandemic when you were coming back from Europe and I was about to go over, and then and Ruben, you too, that same day we were both supposed to fly over separately to start tours, and we ended up everything getting canceled. But when you came back, were you really were you quarantined in the basement for 2 weeks? I know you thought that Melissa that might be in your future. Were you down there with your instruments?
Yeah.
That really happened. I couldn't tell if you were joking or not.
I wasn't quarantined in the basement. I did sleep, but we slept in separate rooms for 14 days.
Right.
But I spend most of my time down here in the basement anyway. So
right.
Those first 14 days, that was rough, man. Oh, that was rough.
Right.
I could imagine.
So Carl, for you, like in terms of like, I mean, I know on the road you're playing different drums. You're probably bringing your cymbals and
Yeah.
maybe snare, whatever. Has it been a different experience just being with your same setup and everything in the studio there?
Well, the irony of it is that those drums I had in the studio, I don't set them up at home.
Mm.
So I have another set here in my little drum room here that I practice on. But ironically, I've been taking kind of the opposite approach because, when you travel and you're using so much backline, I want to try to get better at just playing whatever there is.
Mm.
So I've been kind of shuffling stuff around here, using this snare one day, another snare another day, changing the cymbals, changing the pedal. And it's still all my stuff. I'm just trying to get used to that mindset of just, I remember just really quickly, many, many years ago, I was in Paris with Freddie, and on the bill was
Freddie
Art.
Hubbard.
Yeah, and on the bill was Higgins and Art, right? And Art at the time used to always take his own drums. A lot of guys did at that time. But the other problem is that airlines used to lose stuff all the time. So anyway, we get there, and some of Art's drums didn't show. We had to play
Art Blakey.
yeah, so
Billy Higgins.
We had to play the house kit, and like the house kit was just absolutely horrible. I mean, like it was just horrible, right? 26-inch bass drum and no heads on the front. But anyway, Art played and it was amazing. Higgins played, it was fantastic. I played, it was horrible. So I'm backstage after the concert, man. I'm throwing chairs and kicking boxes, and I'm backstage, and Art comes to me and he puts his arms around me. He said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Art," I'm like 23. Show you how smart I was, right? I said, "Art, my rider said four cymbal stands, and 18-inch bass drum, and rah 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 rah." And he said, "Let me ask you something." I said, "What?" "Do you play the drums or do the drums play you? Because if you could really play it, wouldn't matter." And he just walked away laughing, and I was like,
Yeah.
Hello.
Right, but those guys, those guys had that ability, man. It didn't matter if you gave them 4 oatmeal boxes; they were gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get to that, man.
I mean, Christian, you got that. You know that. You got that prowess on the bass. I seen like Granny Dare do it. I seen there's a bunch of guys who have that natural ability. No, I'm getting better at it in the past month or two. But I was fortunate, as same as you, to start out traveling with my bass most of the time, and only the past few years, maybe 3 years, did I really stop taking my bass on the road because I got the collapse in my neck, and I just I'm a frequent flyer geek, so I just figured a way so I could keep on taking the bass, but it got to a point
he had
where
platinum status on many airlines. That's what he's trying to say, so he could bring his bass.
You said it, not me. But the thing, what I end up having to do, but my confidence level, wasn't the same when I would be playing on other people's instruments. You know what I mean? Even though if it was there, it was a lot of it wasn't here. You know what I mean? I would always make these excuses for myself or whatever. So that forced me to be like, you know what? Leave that goddamn bass home. You know what I mean? And I realized in respect to the music, it opened up a whole lot for me because I wasn't, that mental thing just started just left right away. And I would, every bass has a different thing to it, right? So you try to bring out the best out of that instrument, whether it's hard or whether it's whatever, you know what I mean? So I really, that really changed a lot for me, maybe just in the past 3 years or so. You just bring out the best you possibly can,
Hey, Ruben, I got this great Ray Brown story, man. We were doing some benefit gig somewhere in the city, and but it was an all-star thing. Bunch of cats were in there. So Ray played, and they had backline. And see, one thing that a lot of these, like some promoters, they make the bad mistake of doing. You can't get an acoustic bass just from like some regular, like SIR or
right.
What's the company in Europe? Swiss cheese.
Cheese, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really get a bass from them. You got to go to a real specific bass person. So Ray comes off stage after having just played a tune, sounds just like Ray Brown, killing it.
Yep. No doubt.
All the Ray Brown 101 isms. He comes down, and he said, McBride, I'm warning you, that bass is a dog. It's horrible. And I'm like, really? Well, I mean, you didn't play like it.
Right.
Like, you say, yeah, but wait till you see it. Man, I went up a couple of tunes later. The strings were about 6 inches off the fingerboard, and it weren't centered. Like the G string was in the middle of the fingerboard. The E string was hanging off like almost over near the F hole, and like there was nothing to hold on to if you were playing the E string. And I was like, "This is what he just played." It was killing.
Yeah, just killing it. Yeah,
I was like, "Wow."
I got a
I'll
similar
never complain ever again.
I got a similar Ray Brown story, and a little different, where I was doing a recording session where he was producing. All right, and I had borrowed someone's bass. My bass was in the shop, and I borrowed some bass, someone to play, and I was first thing in my mind. I'm like, double whammy. I'm playing somebody else's bass, and Ray Brown. And Ray Brown sitting. Right. First of all, I'm trying not to do any Rayisms. I'm like, okay, oh yeah, I just did it. Oh God, So because you sound like a broke ass Ray Brown. Anything you do, and so we were having trouble with a tune. It was many stands we were doing, and like we were kind of amongst the musicians. We were like, remember, what's that change? And Ray was like, I'm gonna come in. Comes in. Same kind of thing. He just takes the bass. The changes. Boom, 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 boom. And then I think it's E minor 7, and like everyone is just looking at him, just like with their jaw just dropped. Just like, he just
that man was a walking hard drive of tunes, man.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
But also just the sound and the presence. He just picked up the bass and he's like, and I was like. From then on, I was like, you need to get man. You just need to stop complaining and get to that. You know what I mean? And get to that. Simple as that.
Real.
Anyway, all right, Pedro, your turn.
No, I'm always amazed if you get 2 or more bass players together. With just the plethora of great jazz bassists. I mean, we talk about different instruments, and Carl and I could talk about piano or drums. I mean, we can't tonight apparently because that's what's up. That's all good. No, but I mean, like I think the bass because in the jazz world has such a special. Wow, I feel so special twice.
Why don't you take yourself off the screen next to you? You're probably looking at yourself. Oh, I see myself there. I see myself there. Yeah.
Why? How did this guy get on here?
Yeah. Okay.
Who is this guy? No, but it's just bass is one of those instruments that in the jazz world, and you're looking at 3 guys here that have been a huge part of that, but it's really pushed the boundaries in a way. And I'm not saying that classical bass, doesn't do their thing or whatever. But jazz bass, and you talk about Ray Brown pushing the instrument to not to its limits, but just to the kind of apex of what it can be is amazing. And, for piano, I think about, Oscar Peterson and Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea. I mean, all these great players and the Art Tatum and everything. Amazing music, Wynton Kelly, musicians. But you have a lot of different genres that happens. But I think that jazz kind of owns the bass world in a very interesting way, and I've always had so much respect for that. So, thank you guys.
Thank you, Pedro.
Thank you,
Pedro.
Let's see. We got a couple questions, Christian. Can I throw some at you?
Throw them at me.
Okay.
Throw them at me.
And look, for all these, if you want, you can be like, you know what? Just get the course. That's what your answer is. That's the easiest. I'll be okay with that. I'm just saying. Mr. McBride, I've been thinking about going fretless on the electric lately. Have any words to give me the courage to make the leap?
Hey man, just shed real hard to figure out where the notes are. That's all. You just got to shed real hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of broad, but it's like you just gotta find out where those notes are.
I mean, it goes along the same line what you said actually in the course. I just saw you like if something you just do over and over and over and over. That's one of those kind of things, trying to figure out where the notes are on the electric and know where the sweet spots to find the intonation.
That's right. That's right.
We got another question here. I don't know if it's more of a statement than a question.
Warren Wolf, of course.
What's up, Warren? What about
Smooth electric bass?
He actually has 2 comments here. He's also got, I'm a bass player too. Let me talk some bass.
Lord,
there
He's a bad bass player. Yeah, I've heard him play.
Don't be nice to him, Bob.
That's right. That's right.
The drums too.
If you give it, don't give him an inch. He'll take it. This is a good one. So we got into this a little bit in your first course, Christian. You did some great stuff, and actually in the second one too. But maybe you could talk about this because you're a great composer as well as bassist. Christian, do you tend to write tunes on the piano?
I do, and I probably shouldn't. No,
come on, man, it's all good.
No, because it took me about a good 25 years, like an idiot, to realize that I only wrote to my ability on the piano. And I started realizing, like, I remember writing the tune that's Shaken Blake. I recorded it on my duet album, Conversations with Christian, and then I wrote a big band arrangement of it. I wrote that song on the bass, and that melody came to me like instantly. And I was like, wow, that head came to me pretty quickly. And I thought, that's because you play the bass, idiot. I was like, see, if I wrote more songs on the bass, I probably would have more tunes, you know? So, yeah, I realized that I should probably, you know, I want to start experimenting, writing more songs from the instrument I'm actually paid to play.
So how much of that comes down to wow, there we go again. There we go again. Myself. Like
where you going, Warren?
Yeah, where'd Warren go? No, it's like, how do you like, because you've done a lot of big band, you have a great big band. I mean, you have a Grammy Award winning big band, so let's talk about that. But you do all the writing for it. How do you can't conceptualize that in a bass? I mean, is that where kind of like coming to the piano, or is that more kind of in your mind? Because you're an amazing arranger. I love your big band arrangements.
Oh, thank you, Peter. Well, strangely enough, I really enjoy arranging for big band. Like it takes a while because like certain voicings, I like getting on the piano and kind of working it out, you know. Okay, what kind of voicing can I use right here? You know, a little passing tone here, you know, spread voicing here, that kind of thing. So it's strange. Like arranging for the big band is not such mental anguish for me, but actually like, you know, composing a song for us, for Inside Straight. That's I don't know, maybe it's like this with other things in life, but like most of those songs I wrote for People Music, I wrote them like the day before or the day of the session. Because it was just like, okay, you have no time to get all caught up in your own head. Just write. It's the ideas are there. Just write, get them out. And I gotta say, I was actually not disappointed with the way a lot of those songs came out. So yeah, I think getting out of my own way when I compose is probably that's my biggest hurdle.
Good stuff. Yeah, so Alex said shade is my jam though, so whatever you're doing has been working. And then where was he at another? Oh yeah, Christian, do you write big band charts by hand at all?
Yes, I don't even know. I do both. Yeah. So generally, I have my Sibelius hookup here, and then I'll also have my manuscript paper, because sometimes I can't get the idea out quick enough, on Sibelius. So I'll just write it down,
right,
and then put it in Sibelius later. So yeah, I'll do both.
But I have to say, because I've been you did some big band arrangements on one of those projects we did with Diane Reeves, where we both arranged some stuff, and you sent me, you arranged some stuff very fast, some great arrangements for Diane. And you've always, with both your bands and those outside projects, you are a fantastic, like you lay the charts out beautifully. Cause I was getting arrangements from like 4 or 5 different people, and they were like, I'm not going to name names, but it was some jackleg, PDFs, like, like the turning, or I had to redo all this stuff, and your stuff came in and it was like some engraver level stuff. Like you've always taken a lot of pride, I can tell, in like having the music not only well written, but easy to read, laid out in a way that makes sense. And that makes a difference,
Well, I think all of us can speak. Like when we play gigs with people and the penmanship is sad, or you can't figure out what it is on the paper, like, man, can you fix this, please?
Exactly.
Like, what is this? Is this a G or a B? I can't tell. And then you give them the music, they're like, oh, this is, I'm like, damn, you don't even know what it is.
Or they're like, well, wait, try this. Wait, no, try that.
You're right.
But you know what? That's a great lesson for young players. I mean, for any age players, is that when somebody, at the level of Christian, like that's why I respect so much when you get the charts. I remember you sending those big band charts, and like we had to go, and you were like last minute, but the stuff was like correct. And so we went and rehearsed the next morning. And I remember thinking, I was like, okay, if I have any questions, I'm going to call you or whatever. But, you had that ability. And I've worked with some other, high level arrangers that do this, where really like you want to call them because it's fun to be like, talk about the music, but there's really no need to. Like when you do an arrangement correctly, it's all there in the music. You know what I mean? Yeah. And, but how people come in sometimes and be like, all right, here's the chart. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to get a vibe on the 3rd bar. And then on the 5th bar, we're going to all like come together and get a real. I'm like, no, just write the music. I'll get the vibe. Don't worry about that.
Man, don't get me started, boy.
Okay, so Warren left, but he's back.
Oh boy.
Oh, there he is.
He's like, I'm out. No, I do have a simple question statement. Can anybody talk about amp use? This is a great question. Lots of players rely on the amp for sound versus getting an actual great sound for the bass.
I'm only going to say very little on that. I'm going to let Ruben take over because he can answer this. You and Bob, man. Look, the amplifier is only going to, that's a literal term. It amplifies. So like if you're getting a poor sound out of your instrument, it's going to amplify a poor sound, So if you get no sound out of the instrument, that's all the amplifier is going to do, for me, it's like, I hear loud amplifiers. They're like, it's like putting too much ketchup or mustard on a really nasty hot dog. It's not going to cover up the fact that hot, it's just like you got to have the core hooked up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So develop your sound on the instrument, and you won't have to turn the amp so loud.
You dig?
Come on, Warren.
What about you, Bob? What you got to say?
That absolutely. I mean, you have to have quality ingredients. I mean, but one thing that Christian actually you mentioned in the course too, is that you have to be.
Hey, y'all keep talking among yourselves. I'll be right back.
You have to be able to hear. You have to be able to hear yourself.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like if you're on the gig and you can't hear yourself, you're liable to want to turn up the bass on the amplifier, and that's trouble. So if you don't have it like to where you can actually hear what's going on in the monitors or whatever the situation is.
Well, I'll tell you what. I used this trick for a long time. I think I said this in another podcast or something like that recently. That for a long time I would actually, usually I use a monitor for a microphone coming out of my amp, out of a speaker, and maybe an amp, very low volume. Mm-hmm. And for many years, people would always say, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I said, and I would act like, well, this is the best I could do. It's too loud for me. In the effort to hopefully have everyone else bring their volume down. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or be conscious. It didn't always work that way. But I say 50% of the time, 60% of the time, it would be like most people would try to at least accommodate the situation. You know what I mean? So that was my effort to try, control the situation from the bass chair. And then once I realize everyone is okay, everyone's playing a certain volume. If I can't hear myself, then I go and I might give it a little notch, to bring a little more presence. But but sometimes those you got those musicians who fall in there, they're not listening to you anyway. So you just got to do what you got to do. It's a fine line though. It's a fine line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bob.
Oh
Carl,
no, I can't interrupt.
Carl left.
I just wanted to ask what your thoughts were as far as if you're on a gig and you're doubling. So it's if you have to use an amp, or maybe you have separate amps for the electric and the upright, and how do you approach that sonically and dynamically?
At least I would at least have either two separate amps or a 2-channel amp, one of the two. And then I was going to say, sometimes I guess the amp thing depends on what the gig is. You know what I mean? Like if you're playing like on an R&B hip hop gig and you need to play some acoustic, yeah, you're probably going to need a little more juice, for something like that. But that rule still applies. You still have to have a good sound on the instrument. The amplifier is not going to get you a good sound.
In the words of a wonderful sound engineer who I won't name, you can't polish a turd.
That sounds like almost every sound engineer we know.
Exactly. That's why I said I can't name them, because I can't remember which one it was.
Hey, Carl, where'd you go?
I know. Where you at, Carl?
He's like, y'all got this, peace.
Yeah, Carl's like, that's enough. Bass amp. He's like, bass amps. That took me over the edge.
That was enough.
Okay, here's a great one. Actually, if Carl comes back too, he can address this with Christian or anyway. How can I most deeply study the music to develop and solidify my musical concept in an era with so many distractions? How do I best utilize my love and hunger for the music?
Good one.
I would say distractions are an option. Have the discipline to not be distracted. Turn your phone off. Turn your TV off. Really focus on, going straight ahead on your instrument. I know that you're right. You're right. There's way too many distractions now. That's why nobody has an attention span longer than 5 seconds. But you can get over that.
Right.
You can get over that.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think too, like one thing I talk about, because we get this question a lot at Open Studio, and it's super valid, and it's super. It is simple in terms of exactly that, as far as like you have to make an environment for yourself to practice. And I think it's okay to say like it can be really pleasing in this day and age of so many distractions to have like that safe special place where it's like, I'm going to go into the shed, if it's in the basement, if it's by the piano, whatever it is, but make your environment conducive to that. Like, don't have your phone. Like a lot of people are like, well, I need to have my phone because I got my metronome app. I'm like, no, like down in the studio, I got the old school. I got the one that's like boom, boom. And if you don't have it,
with a little weight on it.
With the weight, yeah. If you don't have it level, that sucker's not steady either,
Right,
but I mean, because I want to have that, and we all get distracted, I think, and a lot of times people think, oh, you guys, are perfect. We get this. We're subject to the same things. We love to be like, hold up, let me check out that Clifford Brown on YouTube. Oh, damn, it's got that other. Wait, related video. Oh, awesome. But if you give yourself just the time, you might say, okay, look, for the next hour, I'm going to turn everything off and I'm going to work on these scales, and that's what I'm going to do. And I find in this day and age, it's such a pleasant thing. And then you can always go back to all the fun stuff, but you go back with that kind of more relaxed mentality, knowing that you got something accomplished. But like you said, Christian, it's just, you have to have the discipline, and that's in all of us, I think.
I have a random based question for both of you guys. I'm sure it's going to be, it's not what's going on with me. How your calluses doing, fellas? How your calluses?
That's a good question.
I'm comfortable.
Man, I'll show you. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't have them anymore. I don't have any calluses. It's sad. It's funny. I don't know. I'm sure Christian, you'd be the one dude that's still working in pandemic, flying around the world playing gigs. But,
yeah, right. flying around my house.
So that's what I'm saying. That little bloodshot I hadn't had since what? Since I first started playing the bass. You know, I don't know. And I played only one time with people in the past 6 months, and that's what came. That was with Obed Calvert and Aaron Goldberg. We got together and did this little trio thing when I was in New York. I'm in California now, but when I was in New York, and that really, because you know, I thought I'd been practicing doing whatever, but the energy that you put into the instrument when you play with people it can't even compare. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole another thing, and like it just threw me for a loop when that happened. When my fingers started bleeding after playing that like two-hour session we did just hanging out, you know. And lately, I've been noticing my fingers are starting to like sting. Like it was just the right hand at first, but now my left hand, the calluses are like, because I haven't been like, you know, I've been just, you know, you practice, you're doing your thing, then you lay down the bass and you go get your drink or whatever you do, and then you come back. You're not like really in the heat of it physically. I'm noticing my body and my calluses, all of it is just like, so even if I try to work on something up in thumb position for a while, I'm like, oh man, I've been doing that. Let me just put that down and not do that. It's crazy how like everything is like after all these years of, you know, like training yourself. So I wonder how that's affecting you guys in this whole
man, no, look, when you shared by yourself, you know, like you said, you're not in game mode, you know.
Right.
So like playing with Carl when we did this course, that was my first time playing with anybody in like 4 or 5 months.
Right.
And I was stinging too, bro. At the end of a couple of days, I like, ooh, ow, ooh, okay. Ooh, I mean, I was cool, but you know, it hardened up again. So I'm cool here, but you know what happens with my you know, my callus got so hard on my middle finger, I can't play the electric bass like this anymore. So I had to relearn how to play the electric bass with my ring finger.
What? Really?
So I play like that.
But what kind of sound? What kind of sound? It starts to get a funny sound with the.
Yeah, it's just like prick, you know, because I have no touch with this finger anymore. So I had to relearn how to play like this.
Wow.
And this callus is almost completely gone. You know, so I was playing electric the other night, and I was like, uh-oh, it's getting sore. Time to get that, trying to get this muscle back up again, you know.
Wow. Yeah, you know. I mean, I'm sure you've had the same thing with Bob, but you probably practice every day, all day, like for like.
Yeah, I get that. I get that from him. He's probably,
he's like, cool. What you talking about?
Usually, while I'm holding my 3-month-old little girl.
Right.
Oh yeah, right.
Unfortunately, you know, we've got the baby Bjorn on and the baby and practicing that way. So my back is really what's killing me these days. So.
Oh wow.
No,
but yeah, he's basically like his fingers are cool. Yeah.
No, not at all. But I did notice that, you know, I really tried to, when everything stopped, I tried to focus on some different things, and I really had been meaning to spend more time with the bow and practice, you know, different things, playing long solos with the bow, which I had not done enough of before, and I really got into that.
Right.
And then I started, you know, I had a show last week. I did my first show since everything stopped in March, and I was like, okay, I've been playing with the bow nonstop and not playing, like I've been practicing pizzicato, but not as much, of course, as doing a gig or regularly playing. So I really felt that when I went back. I didn't end up with the blood blister, you know, but I felt it in my hand, in my wrist.
Oh yeah.
No doubt. Something else.
It was not the same.
Carl, has anything changed up for you drum wise?
Well, yeah, it's funny because I think I was telling someone that I had to learn how to practice all over again. You know, because if you're fortunate and blessed like we are, if you're used to working all the time, you know, you're practicing for a gig, you're getting ready for a date or something.
Right.
And then when that's not there, it's kind of like, okay. So it's like back to the basics. You know?
Yeah.
And
routine. Yeah. I feel the same way. The same way.
Yeah.
Feel the same way. Definitely, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, the only thing
he's back.
Yeah, I know. It's yeah. Plus, he's back. It's funny. The only thing I felt different physically is, because I'm down at the studio all the time by myself. I've actually been playing and practicing more kind of than ever in a way. But
Yeah, because you're on your your 57 solo piano thing.
24.
50 what?
24. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This guy. Palm tree Ruben.
I said 24.
No, but I'm like, there's not many people in the building, but I'm so like when I'm in the studio, I'm just there by myself. But if I got to go to the bathroom or whatever, I go out, I put the mask on, and I'm always like, I'm washing my hands so much more than ever that my fingers on the keyboard, it started feeling different. Like it wasn't really uncomfortable. It just felt different. Plus, we're always like, every time, my piano technician comes in every week, she like puts a special like disinfectant on the keys and everything. And so just everything, I'm just so much more aware of how everything feels, and it feels different,
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, first world problems. Okay.
That's
anyway.
true. As soon as I said that, I didn't realize it sounded that way. Forget it. All right. Speaking of first world problems, we got Baltimore. But first of all, before I even read this script, can we check out Warren's like profile picture here? Like, why got to be from that angle with the tight shirt? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man.
You know Warren, man.
I promise.
Vin Diesel of jazz.
But I love how he's got all these. Now this cat's on the road with us all the time. Never asks us any questions. Won't come hang out with us. And now all of a sudden,
he got no but questions now.
Say, McBride. I mean, if we keep at it like this, next time we go to Japan, he may have cigars with us, huh?
Oh, I'm telling you.
They're getting you, Warren. They're getting you.
That's right.
Oh, there you are.
I promise. Last question, Carl. Do you prefer to play hi-hat on bass solos? Bass solos. Do you prefer to play high? I love how he's trying to box you guys in. See, it's like. But yeah, what do you think about that, Carl? Hi-hat on bass solos.
I mean, when you say hi-hat, I don't know if you mean like playing hi-hat with the with your rods. I mean, with your stick or brush, or just keeping time playing the hi-hat. But it just depends on who I'm playing.
Yeah, way to go, Warren, with the super unclear question, Warren. Way to go, man.
But I'll tell you a funny story. Many years ago, I was on a gig and with Buster, and I went to the hi-hat, and he just kept looking at me, and he was vibing me. So after the end of the set, he said, "Man, let me talk to you for a minute." I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Man, I don't like it when you do that." I said, "Do what?" "When you go to the hi-hat behind my solo." I said, "Well, okay, but tell me why." I mean, I wasn't being defensive. I'm like, "Well, just tell me why." He said, "Well, I feel like when guys do that, they play that way because they feel that's how they should play behind a bass solo, as opposed to playing behind me."
Right.
And I said, "Okay." I mean, I appreciated it, and it was a great lesson in terms of just, playing with the individual as opposed to this is how you play behind a bass solo.
Right.
So it just depends, on the person.
Yep. Well, I always wonder because it's like when we have those early experiences. I think we've all had these. They're so impactful. Like once you're trying to like figure out what to do, and somebody tells you something that's better than you, you're always like that sticks with you. And when I was in high school, I was like in ninth grade. I was doing duo gigs with Steve Kirby, great bassist, our friend, from St. Louis, and Steve was like a seasoned pro, a couple years older than me, and we would do this duo gig down in Soulard. I didn't know what I was doing, and like. I'm playing. I could kind of get through the tunes, and then we get to the bass solo. I'd be terrified because Steve would start soloing, and we had no drummer, and I'm trying to comp. And so at first, I just play a little bit, and Steve would turn to be like, "No, man, don't do that." And I was like, "Okay, so let me play some more." He's like, "No, it's too busy." I was like, "Well, damn, you said don't play this." But the thing was, like, I wasn't supporting him with like the time and comping behind him. So it wasn't a matter of if I was playing too much or too little. I wasn't playing the right way. And so I just, cause I didn't have enough experience then. And I wasn't confident. I was like, man, am I losing the time? And as soon as you start thinking about losing the time, you've already lost it. And so it was I always think back to that moment, but I'm wondering, Christian, cause we've never talked about this. And I don't know if you and Carl probably never have, like, what do you like to hear behind you, which is funny because I've played so many times behind you. I probably should have asked you this before. But what do you like to hear, like drums and piano in general, play behind you during a bass solo?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends, man. I think the song tends to decide what's the best thing to do. You know, I've never had a problem with the way traffic jam over there.
I muted him.
Like the way that you count, Peter, you know, it's perfect behind me, you know, and the way Carl plays behind me is, you know, I've never had to even think twice about it. And Carl has done, I mean, you've done a few different ways, Carl. You know, you go to the hi-hat with the sticks, you go to the brushes, sometimes you stay on the ride cymbal real light. I mean, I guess it depends on the vibe, you know.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing. The only thing I don't like is when piano players walk the left hand bass behind the bass solo. Right. I can't stand that.
Horrible.
But you know what, Christian? I don't know if I told you this. The one time I agree. The one time I did that was the one time I played with Ray Brown, and he's like, walk a bass line.
He loves it. He loves it.
Man, I was so terrified though. I'm like, are you kidding me? How am I going to walk a bass line? But I think he might have been messing with me too a little bit. Like walk a bass line.
That was his favorite thing. He liked hearing the bass line while he soloed.
Maybe he just did so many bass lines for others. He's like, come on, walk a bass line for me.
I'm gonna just
Frankie and Johnny.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just
that's
add
only
my,
for the head.
right. I'm just add my 2 cents to that whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, the tendency is just that the intensity and usually drops when the bass starts soloing, right? The intensity just everything just the bottom just falls out. I mean, for the most part, and that's when you got people going in the back to get a drink at the bar or whatnot because intensity just leaves, just gone, and then most bass players they're gonna try to play they little hard out because intensity doesn't drop to keep that intensity up, right. And I think that's the whole thing. Just preach to rhythm section players or whoever the accompanist, keep the energy up, whatever that's going to be, keep that energy up for us. Since we've been holding it down the whole time, we just need the same kind of energy you would give. Just sonically, it's got to be a little bit, low, obviously because of the timbre of the instrument. That's the main thing,
Yeah.
But the best musicians. The musicians that we hear time and time again, like Carl Lennon's, like the Peter Martins, they already know how to do that. You know what I mean? Because they're sensitive. They're sensitive to the whole picture, right? Realizing, okay, and it comes natural to that. So, I mean, that's my 2 cents.
Well, you got to understand, Carl and I have a standing weekly phone engagement where we talk about, the title of it is "How do we keep the bass players happy?" and that's all. Like
you weren't supposed to talk about.
Oh,
that,
sorry, my bad. That's the next course.
Well, y'all need to get up on the phone call more than once a week. Just saying.
Well, but it's the interesting thing that you guys are bringing up because I know, Christian, you and Ruben, played with Joshua Redmond at kind of pivotal places and, of your career and in and out at different times. And I remember when I played with Josh, that was always a little bit of a bone of contention because Josh loved to have like the open bass solo where it'd be like, it might be the beginning of a tune. It's like, just play. Right. And I think, I know Chris Thomas, when he was playing, when I was playing with him, would always be like, man, why I got to just create something from nothing? But I think you guys and Bob DeBoo, like we've done gigs before where you've done, I don't know if you liked it or not, but I think great bass players have that ability, like drummers, to be able to just create. It may feel like a drag in that, like, where's my support? But it's such a singular thing. And Christian, you've done that so many times, on gigs that we've done where you'll either do an intro, open, and then go into a groove or whatever. And it's such a, I think structurally within the band, it's such a great thing because the bass is so much supportive and is the foundation all the time. So I don't know if that's a drag or not, but I like it. So
I don't think it's a drag. I mean, I think most great instrumentalists can do that. Drummers, pianists, whatever the instrument. Even horn players setting up the song. They'll play something out front. getting back to the bass solo though, that kind of what you just said. I don't know how I feel about this, Ruben and Bob. Sometimes it's 50-50, where the drummer will lay out and like during the song, like, okay, like everybody's played over the form, right? Now it's the bass solo, and then everybody's like, okay, you got it. And then they just leave you out there.
Peace.
Like sometimes I'm just like, hey, what's up? You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, now y'all gonna relax. Now y'all gonna chill. Right? You know,
Where's the respect? Where's the respect? You know
what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes some of those, we'll play like some of those modal tunes that can kind of go, in or out. You know, maybe I don't mind it so much then, but like we're playing like an actual tune with a form and stuff like that. Don't leave me out there.
Right.
I'm gonna tell you.
I was there for you. Why can't you be there for me?
I'm gonna tell you something that happened to me. I played Smoke many years ago with Javon Jackson and Lou Hayes, right?
Yeah.
Trio. And man, Lou Hayes, he had that dance. We there,
Oh yeah.
And I swear, almost at least for one night, almost every solo I took, Lou Hayes was like, "What half a chorus?"
And then lay out.
Stop. And he lay out. I was like, it could be a ballad, it could be three, it don't matter what. I was like, what the hell, Lou? Jesus Christ. The one person I want to hear that dance, like, do it. He was just like, right. I was like, I guess I wasn't playing shit.
Now, I'll tell you on the other hand, I won't call no names, but like this, I know this one cat, like he wouldn't come down at all for the bass solo. He'd be playing behind me like he was playing behind the saxophone. Oh, yeah. And I'd be playing my solo like, for real?
Right.
And he'd be looking like, yeah, come on.
Well, you know what? I mean, that
on the break, I'm like, yo, dude, I just need you just give me come down just a little bit.
But you said something.
Was that too loud? Yeah, it was too loud. Yeah, I had to say something.
Good. But but the way you said it too was probably in your way too. You were like, how you doing? So, I mean, you think you can? Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Hey, it's good, man. It's all about presentation.
I just couldn't believe that though, man. My man was just like,
yeah, I know about that too.
I was like, yo,
Carl, I can't believe you did that, Carl. Come on, man.
So you trying to tell me something?
Yeah.
Carl would never do that.
No, actually, Carl is the master of many things, but that, playing fast with intensity, but the volume level, like the stuff you guys do in the chorus on Stick and Move with the trading, that's such a great, I learned so much. I mean, so many times I played that tune with you guys and I've watched, at the Vanguard and different places. Oh, sorry. Did I drop that name on the ground? My bad. But you guys really, you kind of broke down what that process was like without the piano getting in the way or anybody else. And it's such an exciting thing because that opens you up, Christian, to be able to go next level with all the stuff you can do without it being a battle. And Carl's it's just like that effortless mastery kind of playing where the intensity's there and there's not even a chance of, forget about dropping a beat or anything. It's like not even dropping a part of the conversation that you guys can have. And I can attest to the fact of seeing you guys play that particular tune so many times and the variations of the way you guys have that conversation. And that's after, Steve Wilson and me and Warren think we've played all sorts of all this bad stuff. And we're like, yeah, what y'all got now? Rhythm section, and then you guys go into that extended, conversation. And I think that, of all the things of this course, I'm so proud of that we were able to expose that you did, Christian and Carl. That moment is one of my favorites because you guys were able to get to that in the studio and little peek behind the curtain on how that happens. And it's just stunning, I think.
Oh, thank you, man. I'll tell you one thing. Playing that song, usually what helps me is nerves. Because that song is up here,
right?
And then we're trading 12s. Just out there. So I'm thinking, oh man, I got to play something to not drop the tempo or like mess up the time. So yeah, I think just being on edge really kind of that helps that a lot. That whole vibe.
Wow.
And being able to nail it after 3 or 4 months of not playing. Jesus Christ. Okay. That's nerve.
I don't know if we nailed it, but it was fun.
No, y'all nailed it. I was thinking about that too. I was like, wow, okay. But I think that you know, the camaraderie and the musical companionship that you and Carl share, it would take way more. I mean, it would take years that I think you guys wouldn't be able to walk in and just start hitting that kind of stuff, because your musical conversation runs that deep, you know. And I mean, I think for all of us, you know, during this period where we're not playing together, and we're definitely chomping at the bit, you know, we started that out tonight, just like, man, can't wait till we play together. But the you know, all the different bonds that we have individually and collectively run so deep that I'm not even worried about it. There might be some calluses and some funny feeling fingers or whatever, but the hookup's not going to be a problem. Right. That was cocky. That was kind of cocky. I didn't mean it to be, but it was.
Go ahead.
There he is. It's fun. That was for Warren. That was a little shout out for Warren, because you know Warren's like, I stay ready.
yeah, right.
In the gym. Shit.
You know what he said? I have lots of questions, but I can't say everything on my mind. Oh man,
Warren, you crazy, man.
So, man, I want to thank you guys all. Thank you, Bob DeBoo, Carl Allen, Ruben Rogers, and especially Christian for this course. And I just want to say that, you know, it's a really special thing. And whenever you guys get a chance to check in on it, I'll give everybody, you know, anybody who's watching that's thinking about getting the course, whether you're a bass player or not, I just want to give you one little secret. We have something called the All Access Pass, which is a way, especially if you're not a bass player, if you're like, wow, this sounds really cool, but I don't need all the bass nerd amp stuff. Christian's course is very little about that. I mean, he talks a little bit of course, I mean, a lot of it about bass, but it's so much about music and companionship and hooking up and music and life, you know. And I think the message at this time is certainly great. But with the All Access Pass, you'll get access to everything on the site. You can just sign up for a month, you know, and look, if you want to sign up for a month and then say, you know, this isn't for me, no problem. You get access to Ruben's great courses, Art of Swing, Bassline Basics, to Bob's GPSs, to Carl Allen's hopefully coming soon course.
What?
And yeah, that's how we roll. And Jeff Keyser, Diane Reesman, the whole thing. And the main thing is we're just trying to kind of build up a community to share ideas. And I appreciate all you guys so much, man, for your artistry, and Christian for just laying it all out there when you were like, you know, I don't know if I have anything more to say. And then turns out you had a lot more to say. And it's good stuff.
Thanks for getting it out of me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. You're doing a great job, Peter. Open studio. Y'all you're nailing it in these trying times.
In these trying times.
Yeah, brother.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, but yeah, I look forward to seeing y'all and you know, whenever that may be what, a year, 2 years from now, or how long you think?
Man, don't say 2 years. Come on, man. Don't end on that note.
Let's think positive.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, at this point, I'm saying I can't wait to see and play with you again in 2021. Like, you know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
2021. Because it's tomorrow, September, so we're almost in 2021.
Well,
because we've definitely got past, like, you know, a few months ago we're like, well, man, in the fall, hopefully we'll be out. You know, we're a little past that fantasy, but I feel safe in saying 2020, 21.
I don't get too safe. Hey, we'll see.
Cool.
All right, brothers.
All right, thank you guys, everybody.
Right. Love you guys. Thank you.
Pedro, Carl, Bob, y'all be cool.
All right.
All right.
Now.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Christian.
Thank you.
You got it, baby.